Drop it or die." The threat sliced through the billionaire's garage. 3 men stepped forward, their shadows stretching long under the dim light. But Nia didn't back away. Her hand tightened on the ball and she let it fall once. The bounce cracked like a warning shot. She met their eyes steady. "What would you do?" The court sat behind the mansion, hidden from the noise of parties and power. No music, no polished guests, just cracked pavement and a single lamp buzzing above. This was Nia's place. After hours spent cleaning floors beside her mother, she slipped out here, sneakers laced tight, the ball her only friend. Each bounce was freedom. Each shot a piece of herself she refused to lose. She wasn't born into wealth. She wasn't meant to belong in marble rooms or at tables where billionaires made deals. But out here with the hoop and the night sky, she was more than the maid's daughter. She was a player, a fighter, someone who believed the game could take her somewhere else. The air was heavy that night, thicker than usual. She dribbled faster, sweat running down her face, her eyes sharp as she practiced crossovers and drives. Somewhere beyond the fence, leaves stirred in the wind. She thought it was nothing, just another sound of the night. But when she glanced again, the darkness shifted, shapes moving where they shouldn't. 3 shadows cut across the edge of the court. Nia stopped dribbling. The ball rolled slow, circling back toward her feet. Something was wrong. Her name was Nia. 16 years old, quick on her feet, eyes that carried more fire than fear. People at the mansion whispered about her like she was invisible, just the maid's kid, a shadow in the billionaire's world. But that wasn't who she was. Every dribble, every sprint, every breath she took on the court told a different story. Her mother worked endless shifts to keep food on the table, scrubbing floors until her hands cracked. Nia watched, learned, and promised herself she'd find another way out. Basketball wasn't just a game, it was her lifeline. When she held the ball, the world shrank to one sound, the bounce against the pavement. It gave her rhythm, control, a sense of power no one could take. She practiced until her sneakers tore at the seams, until her arms burned. She knew the moves like she knew survival. Fast cuts, sudden pivots, explosive drives. On the court, she wasn't small, she wasn't overlooked. She was sharp, dangerous, untouchable. And tonight, standing under the flickering light, Nia realized those same skills were all she had. No locks, no alarms, no guards, only her breath, and the ball that had taught her how to fight. The night was thick with silence when the gates gave way. 3 men in masks slipped through, their bodies moving low, careful, like wolves hunting. They carried blades and shadows, certain the mansion slept. To them, this place was a prize, a billionaire's vault waiting to be cracked open. But Nia was there, alone on the court, her sneakers scraped against the pavement, the steady rhythm of her dribble echoing louder than she realized. The sound carried into the dark, a signal she hadn't meant to send. She froze when she saw them. Figures that didn't belong, figures that stalked toward her like the night itself had grown legs. Her chest tightened. For a second, she thought about running, but the fence loomed tall and the gates were already closed. Nowhere to go. Her hands curled around the ball, palms slick with sweat. The sound of her own heartbeat filled her ears, drowning out everything else. One man whispered to the others, a sharp laugh cutting through the still air. They hadn't expected anyone here. And she hadn't expected to become the only wall between them and the fortune inside. The game had changed, and Nia was no longer just playing. The blades caught the dim light, sharp glints that made her stomach twist. They circled her slow like cats playing with a cornered mouse. One man sneered, voice dripping with mockery. "Little girl with a ball. Wrong place, wrong time." The others chuckled, their steps closing in, their eyes cold. Nia's chest pounded, but her feet stayed planted. She could feel the ball under her palm, steady, solid, familiar. Every instinct screamed to drop it, to beg, to run. But she didn't. Running meant weakness. Running meant giving them control. She swallowed the fear, pressing up her throat, and gripped the ball tighter, knuckles white. She stared back at them, eyes locked, refusing to blink. They wanted her small, broken, afraid. Instead, she gave them silence. Her silence was defiance. Her silence was a promise that if they came closer, she would not fall easy. Upstairs, behind walls lined with gold frames and heavy curtains, the billionaire sat frozen. The first crash of the gate had jolted him awake, but fear chained him to the floor. His hands shook around the phone he couldn't dial, his breaths short and shallow. He had security cameras, alarms, guards on payroll, but none of that mattered now. None of them were here. He listened, straining, catching the sound of voices below. Men, threats, and then something else. The faint, steady bounce of a ball. It confused him at first, then cut deeper. She was down there. The maid's daughter, Nia. 16, alone, standing in the path of men who came to rip him apart. His millions couldn't move his feet. His name couldn't shield him. From the safety of his locked room, he knew the truth with brutal clarity. His life hung on her courage. And she didn't even know it. The first man lost patience. With a grunt he rushed forward, blade raised high. His boots scraped the pavement as he lunged, fast and reckless. Nia didn't think. Her body moved the way it had 1,000 times on the court. She dropped her weight, twisted to the side and swung the ball hard. The leather smacked against his wrist with a sharp crack. Pain tore across his face as the knife slipped free, spinning to the ground. Steel clattered against concrete, echoing through the garage like a gunshot. The other two froze for a heartbeat, their confidence shaken. They hadn't expected resistance, not from her. The girl they mocked, the girl they thought would fold, had just disarmed one of them with nothing but a ball. Nia's chest rose and fell fast, her heart hammering, but her eyes didn't waver. She stepped back, ball cradled in her hand like a shield. The man she struck cradled his wrist, teeth bared in rage. The others exchanged looks, and for the first time doubt flickered in their eyes. Silence pressed heavy over them all. One wrong step, one sudden move, and the night would explode. And now they knew. She wasn't going down easy. The garage swallowed every sound except their steps. Two men spread wide, circling, their boots thudding against the floor until the rattling door shivered with each strike. Their eyes stayed locked on her, waiting for her to slip, to panic, to give them an opening. Nia's chest rose and fell, breath sharp in her throat. She scanned the space quick. The parked cars, the shadows stretching along the walls, the empty shelves where tools should have been. No phone, no bat. Nothing she could use. All she had was the ball, warm under her palm, the only weight that felt steady in a room now closing around her. One man hissed, "You think that ball saves you?" His knife caught the light, sharp and hungry. The other cracked his knuckles, steps echoing closer. Nia's eyes darted left, then right, tracking them both. Her sneakers slid across the floor, the squeak loud in the silence. She forced her breath slow, steady, her body lowering like she was guarding the rim. They wanted her cornered. They wanted her small, but she wasn't shrinking. Not now. Not with the doors rattling behind them, not with fear clawing her ribs. She held the ball tighter. She was still in the game. 3 men, 2 blades, one girl with nothing but a ball in her hands. The air is heavy, their steps closing in. Her breath the only sound she owns. No guards, no alarm, no way out. Just courage or collapse. If you were her, cornered, 16 and staring down knives, would you fight back or would you freeze? Tell me in the comments. The man on her left stopped circling. His chest rose with sharp, angry breaths as his hand reached for his mask. Nia braced, expecting another threat. But what she saw hit harder than the blades. The mask peeled away, and beneath it was a face she knew, her cousin Darius. Her mouth went dry. Childhood memories flashed quick, running through streets together, sharing cheap snacks after school, whispering about futures bigger than their neighborhood. Now his eyes were colder, his jaw set like stone. "Move, Nia," he hissed, voice low but sharp, "or you're done." The knife in his grip glimmered inches from her. His betrayal sliced deeper than the steel ever could. Family. The one person she once trusted to guard her back was here to take what wasn't his. Her hands trembled, but she didn't step aside. The ball pressed firm against her palm, grounding her. Darius shifted closer, his breath heavy, waiting for her to break. But Nia's eyes locked on his, and though her heart ached, her body stayed planted. She wasn't moving. Not for him. Not for anyone. The betrayal burned, but it also lit something fierce inside her, something that refused to fold. The ball slicked out of her hands, rolling into the shadows. Her footing gave way, and her body slammed against the hard floor. Pain burst through her ribs, sharp and breath-stealing. For a second, she couldn't move. The garage spun, her vision swimming with spots of light. Laughter filled the space, cruel, echoing. One man pointed, the sound of his boots heavy as he stepped closer. "Thought you were tough?" Another jeered. Their shadows loomed larger, stretching across her small frame like a net closing in. Nia clawed at the ground, trying to push herself up, but her chest screamed with every breath. Sweat streaked down her face, mixing with tears she refused to let fall. Above her, the men tightened their circle, confident the fight was already over. Her cousin's voice cut through the mocking. "Stay down, Nia, don't make me hurt you." His words stung more than the ache in her ribs. For that moment, hope slipped as far away as the ball had rolled. Her strength felt drained, her body broken. Lying there surrounded, Nia saw what they wanted her to see: weakness, defeat. And for the first time, she feared they might be right. Flat on the ground, Nia felt her lungs burn, but in the haze of pain came memory. Nights when the world slept, she stayed on that cracked court. She ran suicides until her legs shook, drilled crossovers until her palms blistered, practiced pivots until her shoes wore thin, not for fun, for a chance at a scholarship. A way out. Every move was muscle now, stitched into her bones. She knew how to fake left, spin right, cut faster than eyes could follow. Coaches told her she had speed, but no one ever saw her use it outside the lines of a court. Until now. The men thought they had her beaten, but they didn't know the hours she'd poured into her game. They didn't know she'd trained for moments where seconds decided everything. Her ribs ached, her breath trembled, but fire rose behind her eyes. She remembered the push-ups in the dirt, the sprints in the rain, her mother's voice telling her, "Play like your future depends on it." And it did. It always had. Nia pressed her palms to the floor, legs coiling tight. She wasn't just a girl with a ball. She was built to fight back. Nia pushed through the pain, forcing her body upright. Her fingers stretched out, finding the ball where it had rolled. The leather felt rough, steady, alive in her hands. She gripped it hard, pulled air deep into her lungs and set her feet. The men laughed again, not seeing what was about to happen. They thought she was weak, too broken to stand. But the moment the ball touched the ground, the sound changed everything. The bounce was sharp, thunderous in the silence. It wasn't a game now, it was a drumbeat. Every dribble matched her heartbeat, fast, fierce, rising, her eyes locked forward. She lowered her stance, shoulders tight, legs coiled. The move wasn't about scoring points, it was survival. She drove straight at them, each step cutting space, her body moving with the same rhythm she had drilled 1,000 times. The first man lunged, but she spun past, the ball whipping under her hand. Another reached for her arm, but she cut sharp, slipping free. Her body screamed from the pain in her ribs, but her spirit didn't bend. Every stride carried more than her weight. It carried her mother's sacrifices, her dreams, and the raw truth. She was not giving up. Her drive didn't end with a spin or a shot. With one fierce swing, Nia hurled the ball across the garage. It struck the window with a deafening crack. Glass exploded outward, scattering like shards of ice. The silence broke in an instant. Alarms shrieked, lights blazed awake, and the quiet mansion became a roaring fortress. Upstairs, the billionaire's voice finally tore free, a desperate scream for help, louder than he had ever shouted in his life. The masked men froze. Their plan, built on shadows and silence, had shattered along with the glass. Floodlights cut across their faces, exposing fear where arrogance had lived a moment before. Nia stood firm, chest heaving, her eyes locked on them. For the first time, they looked smaller than her. Panic rippled through their steps, and in that chaos power shifted. The hunted girl had turned the night into their trap. The night didn't stay quiet after the alarms. Within minutes, red and blue lights streaked down the mansion's long driveway. Sirens split the air, sharp and relentless, scattering the last of the men's courage. They bolted, but there was nowhere left to hide. Officers swarmed, shouts echoing as boots pounded the pavement. Nia stood frozen, chest burning, ball still clutched in her hands as chaos unfolded around her. Her cousin was slammed against a car hood, cuffs biting into his wrists. Another robber tried to leap the fence, but was dragged down hard. The last dropped his knife, eyes wide, begging for mercy that wouldn't come. By dawn, the story had already escaped the mansion. News vans lined the street, cameras blinking under the pale light. Anchors raised their voices with words that would follow her forever. A girl with a ball saved a billionaire. Her face, sweaty and bruised, filled screens across the city. Strangers who never knew her name before now repeated it like a chant. Nia, the maid's daughter, the girl they underestimated, was the one who stood tall when no one else did. The city was awake, and it was her courage they were talking about. Darius's wrists were locked in steel, the chains rattling louder than his words ever could. Officers shoved him forward, his head bowed, shoulders slumped under a weight heavier than the cuffs. The mask was gone, and so was the swagger. What remained was shame. Neighbors peeked from windows. Reporters shouted his name, their cameras flashing like strikes of lightning. But it wasn't just his record that was ruined. It was family. Nia watched from the steps, ball pressed against her hip, eyes burning. This wasn't the boy she once laughed with on cracked sidewalks. This was a man who chose greed over blood. The betrayal cut deep, leaving scars no court sentence could erase. His fall dragged their name through mud, marking their bloodline with a wound that would never fully heal. And he had done it with his own hands. The sky cracked with pale light, painting the court in soft gold. Nia stood where it all began, sneakers planted on worn concrete, the ball resting against her palm. Her body ached, bruises along her ribs, scratches on her arms, but she hadn't broken. The billionaire approached, voice low, almost trembling as he thanked her. His words carried the weight of fear and gratitude, but Nia didn't answer. She just nodded once, her eyes drifting back to the ball. It was more than leather and air. It was nights of sweat, mornings of hope, and the fire that kept her standing when knives gleamed and fear pressed hard. Money hadn't saved him. Security hadn't stopped them. She had. As the sun climbed higher, Nia bounced the ball once. The sound echoed clear across the quiet court, reminding her who she was and what real power looked like. Sometimes it doesn't take an army or money or power to turn the tide. Sometimes it's just one choice, one act of courage, one ball bouncing in the dark. Nia proved that even when fear surrounds you, strength can come from the smallest things. A decision to stand, a refusal to back down, and that can change a night, a family, even a life. If stories like this move you, hit subscribe button, Bhoom Stories YouTube channel. And don't miss the next one.